Never
Do you
thought
still
about
think that faith is not cellular? Or, I mean, your cancer is, I love that part, you know,
Yeah,
where
that
you
it doesn't
said,
go to the cellular level.
exactly. Do
Yeah.
you still think that, or?
I don't really know what I think. I mean, I'm really in a, you know, I'm in a sort of ambiguous place right now on this stuff. Like I kind of long for it, but I don't feel it.
Do we need that to be fulfilled and happy and rounded?
I don't know, but at Christmas this year, I felt a hole in my heart.
Did
I'll
you?
tell you that. I'm totally going to cry because this was such a meaningful thing, but it was just like without some kind of center to that those 2 weeks, it was just like, this is the ugliest time of the year. All we're doing is like stuffing our faces and giving presents to each other. Like, this is not right. So I had this sort of flipped out slightly, and I got the girls in the car, and I had already sent an email out to say, you know, if anyone has any coats that they don't want, we're going to collect them, and on Christmas Day, we're going to go give them out to people. So I did have this big pile of coats, and it was Christmas Eve, and I was just feeling this feeling of like, this is just doesn't feel right. And so I got the girls in the car, and I got the coats, and I joked with Edward later that this was going to be the first story in George's memoir. Like, one Christmas Eve, my mother went nuts. And we drove around Oakland and literally looked for people on the streets and pulled over and put the hazards on and took an orange and a dollar bill and a coat and handed it to people. And the first guy just was like right out of central casting, like big, huge smile. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas. And the girls rolled down the window and they're like, Merry Christmas. And, you know, it was like, that is very satisfying. The second guy was like a forgotten person. You know, he's just totally alone. He probably doesn't know anyone in the entire world. Oh, I'm sorry. This just kills me though. And so I brought him a coat and I said, would you like a coat? And he said, well, that coat is going to get really wet. Oh. And do you have an umbrella? And I said, yeah, I have an umbrella. And I ran back to the car and I got this pink and white umbrella that I had been given at some breast cancer talk that I gave. And I went back and it was a totally gray day and he was alone on this bench. And he was opened it and was spinning it. And he said, this umbrella makes me feel pretty. And I was like, well, Merry Christmas. And he was like, Merry Christmas to you. And then as I was walking away, I just heard him say, I love you.
Oh,
and I was like,
geez, Kelly.
Poor person. Like, you don't have anyone. Like, it wasn't this poverty that was breaking my heart. It was just, you don't know anyone in the whole world. You don't know anyone and no one knows you. How could that be?
You gave him hope at a time of year where that's why we celebrate Christmas.
I said to the girl, you know what's probably had a bigger impact on me in terms of my worldview than anything is I worked for the United Way for 10 years. And as part of it, I was basically in fundraising, but as part of it, I would go into corporations and take them out in the middle of the day in their nice clothes to an agency that United Way funded. And I loved this job. I mean, I loved the idea that you were snapped out of your world where it was like, now what time are you going to be at the meeting? And do you have the memo? And make sure everything's ready. And over into this place where it's like, so this is their one meal a day that these people are going to eat. And look at that soup. Like, would you touch it to your lips? And the simultaneity of things has always sort of stunned me. Like I remember being in Nepal and thinking, I cannot believe this world is existing simultaneous to the world that I live in. Like the guy is going along with the hoe this big behind a mule, while somewhere in America, someone's got headphones on, smoking a cigarette, riding a big old tractor across like 1,000 acres. So the United, like living through the United Way years and has made me incredibly cognizant of how other people live, you know, 2 miles from my house. Like what's going on in Oakland, California versus Piedmont, California is startling. So that, if I could only give my children one thing, and maybe this is God, I don't know, but if I could only give them one thing, it would be, you know, be useful, make yourself useful.